Hi, my name is McAllie Gibbons, and I am going to teach you how to write a museum label. First, one must decide what type of museum you're going to be writing for. Are you going to be writing your labels for an art museum, a zoo, a children's museum, a science museum, a natural history museum, or just a history museum? Once you have figured out what type of museum you're going to write for, you must consider the size of the museum, the location of the museum, the budget the museum has, and the skills of the staff. Also keep in mind the mission statement. Everything that is put into the museum must reflect the mission statement in some way. Curators must strive to create an interpretive label. Interpretive labels tell a story. They are narratives and not just the facts. Interpretive labels address visitors' unspoken concerns. For example, what is in it for me? Why should I care? How will knowing this information improve my life? This can be difficult for curators to do because they have all the information and they must decide what information is important enough to tell their visitors. Also, curators must make sure they present the information in a way that the masses will be able to understand it. Creating a label for people who are specialized in this topic defeats the purpose of educating everyone. Think about the subjects that you don't know. Now think about what you would want to know, what you would want the labels in the museums you are visiting to answer if you knew very little or nothing about the subject. This is the information you should tell the readers at the museum. Once you've decided the type of museum you're going to be writing for, you will create different categories. The first category of the label is the title. The title label identifies the name of the exhibit. The best title labels will spark interest and curiosity for the visitors. They should only be one title label, and it should be used throughout the exhibit and for all promotional marketing. These should not be very long. The title label should include about 1 to 7 words. The next category of labels is the introductory label. Introductory label sets up the organization and the tone of the exhibit. Introductory labels introduce the big idea of the exhibit. These should be short, clearly informative, and prepare the visitors for the theme of the exhibit. Visitors will not stop and read a long introductory label. Visitors should be able to glance at the introductory label and not stop as they are entering the exhibit. The introductory label should be between 20 to 300 words. The third category of labels is the section label. The section label explains why the subgroup or subject matter is shown together. Section labels normally contain more content than the introductory label, but less content than the objects label. The section label should be between 20 to 150 words. The fourth category of labels is the object label. Now, these are the most detail-oriented labels in the museum. These labels should be located near the object. Most often, visitors read these labels when they are curious about an object or want to know more information about the object. Object labels should at least provide the object's name, the date of when the object was created, the location, and a short description. The vocabulary used in the object labels should be able to be read by an 8th grader. Object labels are not meant to be lengthy. This is where many curators run into a problem. The curator has to decide the information he or she wants to tell the visitor about the object. This is a huge responsibility. Object labels should be between 20 to 150 words. Visitors visit the museums for many different reasons. There are 7 different types of museum visitors. Curators should strive to appeal to as many different types as possible. The first type of visitor is the explorer. The explorers are very curious about the exhibit. They're curious about the subjects that are being presented to them. The second type is a facilitator. Normally, these are the parents who visit the museum with their children to fulfill their needs. They are normally not there for their own experience, but for someone else's. The third type of visitor is the tag-along. Just like the facilitator, they are not there for themselves, but for someone else's pleasure. The fourth type of visitor is the professional or the hobbyist. These people want to learn the specifics about the objects. They like to pay attention to detail. They normally already know information about the objects, they're just looking for more information on it. The fifth type of visitor is the experience seeker. Experience seekers normally visit museums to say they have been there. There's not to learn about the information. This is, for example, at bigger museums or more well-known places. The sixth type of visitor is the recharger. Rechargers are people who have visited the museum several times and like to visit to get away from the busy lives and just relax. It is important to remember as you are creating the museum labels that you remember your audience. Some museums pick out a few of these categories to create their museum labels for. It might also be wise to do some research on the community and the people who visit and why they visit. Museum labels are more complex than just writing down information. Curators must decide how much information to tell and the best vocabulary for visitors to read. Curators must work with the design team to decide where the labels should be placed. Museums should never place labels too high or too low. This can cause difficulty for people to read them. A good rule of thumb is to place the label, more specifically the object labels, in view of someone in a wheelchair. Once you've decided where to place the labels, you need to agree on a design for the labels. The labels designed throughout the exhibit should have a theme. The colors should make it easy for the visitors to read the labels. The font size should be clear and easily readable. Title and introductory labels normally have bigger font size. The font for them should be at least 80 point. For the object labels, the font should be no less than 20 point. Since some people do not read most of the object labels, it is a good idea for curators and designers to highlight or bold the text of most important information in the object label. Depending on the budget curators have, they should create different languages allowing more people to read or understand the exhibit. Another good idea for museums is to create evaluations for their labels. You should do these before you create them and set them out for the public, during the exhibit, and post-exhibit. This how-to video is just the foundation of museum workers to learn how to write labels. For more information, please visit www.howtowriteamuseumlabel.com. I am McAllie Gibbons, and thank you for watching.